Tonight, a major overhaul of South Australia's fishing industry announced, and locals rushed to the shops for last-minute Mother's Day gifts.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening, everyone. The South Australian Government has announced an overhaul of the local fishing industry. Port Pirie Fishers described the move as positive, with $24 million put towards managing the changes.
Drastic changes to manage what's biting. 4 regional fishery zones and fewer longliners among the changes set to rock the industry.
The quotas that come in and out too high, then in actual fact the recreational fishermen actually lose the opportunity to go out and catch a couple of squid or a couple of King George whiting.
The new rules will come into effect by July next year. Total allowable annual catch limits will be placed on 4 priority species: King George whiting, snapper, garfish and calamari.
This industry certainty, and it gives it a sustainable future.
So to maintain, so Australians can buy fresh, clean Australian fish instead of having imported stuff from overseas.
Some sanctuary zone restrictions will be lifted, including Clinton wetlands.
The Marine Parks process was hijacked, in our opinion, to include a lot of our most important areas. And it's good to see that the government have had a realistic reassessment of it.
Fishers say communication is vital during this transition period.
Not just the commercial fishermen, not just the recreational fishermen, but the whole community.
The only way we can get through this is for all sectors of the industry to work collaboratively.
The Minister insists he'll continue to work with fishers as the plans roll out over the coming months. Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
South Australia will start to emerge from its COVID-19 slumber on Monday, with the state government announcing a 3-stage roadmap. Regional travel is being encouraged, with South Australia lifting restrictions on camping and caravanning. Outdoor dining for restaurants and cafes capped at 10 people will also be allowed. RSL and youth services will also be opened up. Funeral numbers have been increased, allowing for 20 people indoors and 30 outdoors. We'll have more details and local reaction in Monday's bulletin. SA Health says good hygiene remains a priority after the state recorded its first coronavirus case in 2 weeks yesterday. They're urging residents not to become complacent and to continue adhering to COVID-19 restrictions. We're also reminded to constantly wash hands and social distance. SA Health is also encouraging locals to download the federal government's COVID-19 app. Business Port Pirie's president is calling on the community to support local retailers during this tough time. Jeff Brock fiercely backing the campaign, saying residents who buy online are hurting the city.
Buy local, that's the message this president is sending to Port Pirie residents. Business Port Pirie working hand in hand with Business SA on a new campaign amid the coronavirus crisis.
We can only stress how important it is to keep those businesses alive, so when the coronavirus is eventually over, that those businesses are still there.
A business owner himself, Mark says retaining local staff is critical for the city's future.
12 of us, so it's a pretty big operation, and it needs to be because we've got a large area that we service.
All want our local, our future generations, our families that have jobs at the moment. Now, if we don't support our locals, then in actual fact we should never complain if our people can't get a job.
Business SA also working to mentor employers outside Adelaide. Its virtual conferences providing support and information to regional chambers.
Online, and over the last 3 weeks we've engaged with about up to 80 people across 40 business and industry associations and regional chambers of commerce.
Community leaders say it's more important than ever to stop shopping online and interstate.
But it's not very good for our community. So I encourage people to actually go into the shop, talk to the owners, talk to the operators, talk to the staff.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Businesses across Port Lincoln have been run off their feet today, with last-minute Mother's Day shoppers snapping up gifts. Flowers and jewellery being the big-ticket items.
Flowers flying off the shelves in what's been the busiest Mother's Day for this Port Lincoln florist in recent years.
I would say that we have probably tripled the amount. It's huge, like crazy.
Staff working around the clock to meet the high demand. Phones running hot as a surge of interstate orders flood in.
Maybe people can't go give their mum a hug this year, so they're sending flowers and sending gift boxes.
Traditional flowers still remain a popular choice, but gift boxes have also emerged as a must-have. Jewellery shops also a hot ticket item, giving mum something with a bit more sparkle.
The custom-made side of it, so a few of those pendants, circle pendants, hearts, that sort of thing with kids' engraved names on it.
The increase in customers a welcome morale boost for Petamonte jewellers, who've seen a 32% drop in retail since the COVID-19 outbreak. They say spoiling mum this Mother's Day doesn't have to break the bank.
We have anything from, say, $10, $15, like your basic silver charms, up to pretty much whatever you want to spend.
Staff bracing for a last-minute rush tomorrow, while florists prepare to work into the night.
Usually there is a big rush right at the end, but unfortunately this year it's going to be once it's sold out, so get in quick.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, we take a look at how Broken Hill's cafes are adapting to the changing world. And we meet the Port Lincoln woman with a passion for sewing. Welcome back. Cafes on Broken Hill's main street say they're doing what they can to cope with the coronavirus pandemic. The restrictions on dine-in businesses proving a challenge for some and manageable for others.
The COVID-19 epidemic is proving a real challenge for local cafes. Restrictions introduced by the National Cabinet have changed the way they do business.
I think a lot of small businesses won't make it out the other end. We're doing our best to stay open every day.
I'm keen as to put my cafe back to normal. I can't wait.
We will look forward to the time again when we are operating as the silly goat that we've always been.
With Silver City eateries currently not able to take in dine-in customers, local cafes have had to pivot towards takeaway and delivery options. For the gourmet crib tin, the transition has been smooth. Before coronavirus, it already had a strong takeaway trade.
It really hasn't changed that much. Hey, they can see my cabinet a little bit closer to the door than what they normally could, so that's a bonus. But honestly, I can't wait for everything to go back to normal.
At the Silver City Cafe, the introduction of new menu items has seen it stay above water.
About a month before the corona hit town, I'd actually introduced Rosie's Chicken, which has been amazing, which has been a saviour of the cafe.
The owner of the Argent Cafe says the business has been impacted by the restrictions. However, she says it's given the staff the opportunity to change what they have to offer.
Provide something different every day. We're trying our hand at all different sorts of foods, takeaways. So, yeah, I think it's just trial and error.
Before coronavirus, the Silly Goats dining area was always at capacity. Emily Keenan saying while the sudden drop-off in diners has affected cash flow, the introduction of a new coffee ordering app has seen the demand for caffeine increase.
We're still doing what we love. We're still moving a lot of coffee. We've still got plenty of loyal customers because they love what we do. I think that is what has kept us alive.
All the owners thanking their patrons for their continued support. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A Wyler butcher is encouraging residents to keep up the good work and continue to shop local. With the region's tourist sector on hold, they say supporting local businesses is a small way to help the community survive.
This well-known family butcher feeling the ongoing effects of coronavirus.
When it first came about, we sort of were busy enough, so I didn't think about it a lot. But since then, we've really realised how bad the situation is.
The business holding special value to Mark and his family. Started by his grandfather in 1947, Mark now runs it with his work partner Neil. In tough times, they're doing all they can to keep the doors open.
We've been a business here, as I said before, for a long, long time, so we'd like to keep that going if we possibly can.
We want people in our doors, we want people around and visiting. So spending some dollars in town as well. There's been a whole lot of hold up, I guess, on some of that.
With panic buying easing and tourists not coming through, small businesses are reaching out. There is hope, with tourism, a crucial part of Whyala's economy, closer to returning. The state government previously revealing it'll soon lift travelling restrictions.
You must shop local, and I mean, I think I think they have the local people here. And I think that's what's keeping us going, which is great.
I think what we're finding is that people want to support local. So when they get there, they want to find something that they can purchase and buy in town.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
As the COVID-19 pandemic sweeps across the globe, one Port Lincoln woman is using her own hands to help make flu masks. She's putting her sewing skills to good use, with her designs in hot demand.
Sue Cat is in her element, sewing for an important cause. The Port Lincoln creative keeping busy making flu masks, putting her own creative touch on each one.
Pieces that are handmade are really special.
She started the work months ago as a favour for a friend. Since then, she's been inundated with orders.
So I did a little research and made a dozen in a weekend, and then have since made about 250 of them. So yeah, they've been very popular.
They don't happen quickly though, Sue has to cut the material, sew them together and ship them off.
Lots of people are getting into them and just for that protective side.
Sue first learnt to sew with her mother. She now makes her own clothes and pieces, her own creative flair shining through.
I think there's vintage detail there. These are scraps of Indigenous fabric, hand-printed Indigenous fabric. So yeah, I use also, there's another bedspread, I think.
Sue's now encouraging others to take up the profession.
Valuing handmade as well, which is really a nice thing to do instead of production line and mass produce. So yeah, I think a lot of people are more getting into that.
You can buy your own mask by visiting Sue Cat Creative. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us, millions of dollars of road upgrades to begin soon. And a party of a different kind marks a Whyalla resident's milestone birthday. A Whyalla resident has shared a special milestone with friends, family and the whole community from her front yard. Turning 100 years old, her children organised a drive-by party to help celebrate the occasion.
A house decorated with huge flashing birthday signs. It was hard not to pass by this house without wishing Lorna a happy 100th birthday.
It sort of feels though, I can't believe it. Why would they go to all this trouble and take time off from work?
Originally planning a huge party, they weren't going to let the coronavirus stop the celebrations.
We put 2 years into that, but the plans that we had, we scuttled very quickly with the help of my sisters and their husbands. We put today together and so far there's been 170 people go by.
We said don't forget to go past and toot and wave, and everyone's been doing it, so it's been wonderful for Mum.
A parade of well-wishers driving past Lorna. Whyalla's State MP paid her a visit and she also received letters from other dignitaries, including the Queen. With 5 children, multiple grand and great-grandchildren and even one great-great-grandchild on the way, Lorna is a key part of this family.
She's taught me all her handicraft ideas, which I carry on. She's taught us how to garden, how to cook.
She's my queen.
We love you, Nan. And her secret to a long life?
Dancing is one thing because that's a good exercise, and being happy all the time, that makes you happy.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A very happy birthday, Lorna. 2 major roadworks on the Eyre Peninsula will begin in the near future. The state government confirming over $50 million in works across the state. 16 kilometres of shoulder ceiling will be constructed on the Lincoln Highway near Cow. Meanwhile, Cleve Road will receive a $6.5 million upgrade. 67 kilometres of shoulder ceiling will be built between Kimber and Cleve. The road will also have new line marking and new guideposts installed. Whyalla City Council is encouraging locals struggling with their well-being to seek help from a new state government website. Open Your World has been launched, filled with practical tips, activities and a variety of support services. More information can be found on Whyalla Council's Facebook page. And if you or someone you know needs help, call Lifeline on 13 11 14. Playgrounds in Port Pirie have officially reopened today. Council giving the green light amid the coronavirus restrictions being lifted this week. Parents and children across town flocking to local parks to have some much needed fun. Residents are encouraged to get out and get some fresh air, but also urged to practice social distancing. Stay with us after the break. We check what's biting in the Spencer Gulf this weekend. And we'll have the weather details with Britt. Hello again. Time for a check of what's biting in the Spencer Gulf. Here's fishing tips.
Today I'm working on this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel the North. Well, the squid are well and truly in at the moment. Heaps of them riding on the shacks, generally at night. And always try drifting along the front of the shacks that last half hour before the sun goes down. You'll generally get just as much as you do during the middle of the day. There are some snook around the old Letty's Spit. King George whiting are in at the moment, and they're quite large too, but yeah, just have to wait for a little bit for those to come on. Try burleying up. There's still some shitties around hammering the baits. That's all we have from the Jewel the North.
Welcome another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips. As I said to you last weekend, it was going to be pretty ordinary, and wasn't it so? So I hope you all stayed home and tied off your squid jags. But there's a lot of guys that actually ventured out on Sunday and did really, really well with King George whiting. The first catches are happening around the Third Creek area. Also squid, there's plenty of those fellas as well. And I think that if you look around, there's a few garfish floating around in the shallows as well. So some of you land-based anglers, I wouldn't be surprised if I actually went to the south side of Varuna Island. You might find yourself catching a little feed of garfish and maybe the one or two of those yellowfin whiting that are hanging around. See you next week.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Locally, the jetties have been producing quite a few squid, not big in size but pretty good in numbers. There's also been a few snook around, especially late in the day. The boaties are finding a few whiting. The south coast of Port Lincoln from Sleaford to Wanner has some good schools of salmon at the moment, and they're nice sized fish around that 2 to 3 kilo mark. Moving over to Coffin Bay, there's been some whiting in the bay system, but Farm Beach has been the pick of the spots. That's all for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
To the day's finance now, and the announcement of a pathway out of the coronavirus restrictions was well received. BHP was up by nearly 1.3%, with Santos also rising. Regional Express jumped by 6%, with Elders also enjoying a good day. However, Bank SA owner Westpac and the Bendigo Bank ended the day down. And the ASX 200 and All Ordinaries finished the week up by 0.5 and 0.7% respectively. To the weather, and there's a few showers on the way for parts of our region over the weekend. Here's Britt with the details.
Thanks, John, and good evening. 22 was our lucky number recorded at Port Augusta, Whyalla and Broken Hill today. Port Pirie reached 21 degrees, Woodner 20, Port Lincoln and Kadina 19, Adelaide 18. Taking a look now at today's skies, with cloud moving over southwestern South Australia, with a cold front causing gusty rain and isolated thunderstorms to develop. Looking mostly clear to the north, however, under high pressure and a dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow, and there is a gale warning current for the Spencer Gulf, with northerly winds expected to reach 15 to 20 knots. Seas at up to 1.5 metres, with swells below 1 metre. And there is also a warning to sheep graziers in place for the Lower Eyre Peninsula, York Peninsula and mid-north tomorrow. Port Lincoln, showers with wind easing, a top of 17 degrees. Cleve, a possible shower, otherwise partly cloudy, looking to reach 16. Woodner, partly cloudy and 17. A fine and partly cloudy day forecast for Whyalla, 18 the top there. Port Augusta with a partly cloudy start to the weekend, reaching 19 degrees. Kadina, showers and wind easing with a high of 17. Showers at Port Pirie tomorrow, looking at a top of 17 degrees. Clare, showers and 13. Broken Hill, winds developing through the day, 17 the top there. Looking ahead to Sunday now, with showers about the mid-north and York Peninsula, but looking to be mostly fine elsewhere. Maximums in the mid to late teens, apart from Broken Hill, with a sunny 24 degrees on the forecast. Monday, fine and partly cloudy across the region, 20 the top at Woodner. Port Augusta, Whyalla and Port Lincoln all 19, Port Pirie and Kadina 18. Tuesday looking mostly sunny apart from showers about the lower air peninsula. Maximum temperatures hovering either side of 20 degrees. And John, that's today's weather. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, Brett. And that's your local news for tonight and the week. Just a reminder, you can keep up and catch up via our Facebook, Twitter and YouTube pages. I'm John Hunt, thanks for your company. I'll have updates later, and Louise Huber will be with you on Monday from 7 p.m. Have a great weekend. Good night.